Hello, welcome. So today we'll be talking about the Iliad and the Odyssey together. And I decided I'm not going to retell the stories with great detail, mostly because they are over 500 pages put together. My hands would probably stop working at that point, so if I tried. But we will be going over the plot a little bit, and then we will really be talking about the significance that both pieces have. I'm really studying a lot of anthropology in my work, and so these pieces have a lot to do with that in particular in two different ways. So we'll start with the Iliad. The Iliad talks about the Trojan War, and it talks about how the Greeks fought with the Trojans and they were eventually able to trick and defeat them, and the story also includes the interference of gods, which overall kind of changes how people perform on either side, and they kind of helped. The story is really long, and there's lots of different pieces to it that are maybe not included in our book or might be, entirely missing, and, so not the entire story is not complete necessarily. What's interesting about the story is that it's most likely passed on orally for years before being written down, and it's one of the only accounts of the Trojan War that we have. So it's interesting to read and know that we wouldn't have known anything about the Trojan War without the Iliad. So is everything in the Iliad true? Probably not. Some different aspects, include the existence of Helen. Some people think that Helen represents the land surrounding Troy and not actually a person. And the time period may be a little debatable because we only have really the one source to kind of tell us, and it's hard to say exactly what's true and what's not. The Iliad did lead to the discovery of what we can assume is the location of the actual city of Troy, which is it's somewhere in modern day Turkey, and that's an important thing that we wouldn't have known about if we didn't have the Iliad. And does that prove the Trojan War or disprove the Trojan War? No, not really. Because it remains a because the remains of a war don't really stay forever. Sometimes they are cleaned up or other things influence them. So now we're continuing to talk about the Odyssey, and the story talks about Odysseus' life after the Trojan War, and he's trying to return home, but the journey is long and difficult, and he's just meeting a lot of different people and obstacles. really, the way that he handles each obstacle kind of depends on the cultural differences of the people that he's around. He really has to respect and act upon that difference in order to continue on his travels. Then once he comes home, he's still not done. Odysseus has to pretend to be somebody else again, because he wants to test the people around him. Even his wife. He tests his wife as well, and she tests him in return. So the Odyssey is important because it talks a lot about cultural difference. As Odysseus is trying to make his way back home, he's meeting a lot of different people whose customs are different to his, and it's different to what he knows. He can't just come in there and do whatever he wants. He would probably be killed or captured or something like that. And it really shows because that's what happens to a lot of the people who are with Odysseus. Some of them are turned into pigs. So that's, a real danger to them. But Odysseus was a smart guy, and he really wanted to go home. So he thought about those cultural differences between the people, and because of that, we have these accounts of different cultures that may have existed around Greece at the time. And that's a big deal because it talks about some of those big anthropology ideas that we kind of learn about when you take anthropology in college. So one of these ideas is called cross-cultural perspective, and the other one is ethnocentrism. So what does that mean? Cross-cultural perspective means analyzing things across different cultures. So we anthropologists, we use that all the time when we study culture or biology or linguistics. And we learn through different cultures, not just Western culture. And then we have ethnocentrism, which is it's considered a bad thing. And what that means is that you're essentially viewing your own culture as the best, and it's the best way to go through life, and any other cultures are wrong or bad. So if Odysseus thought that way about everyone that he met, he would probably never have made it home. Now, continuing on to the ASL issues for the week. Since I didn't translate the entire plot of the story, I had a way easier time being able to talk about it. And there isn't a whole lot of searching that I had to do, for the right sign to mean the right thing with the right context. I just wanted to focus on the importance of the stories themselves, not every single plot detail. And I personally thought that was way more interesting. Hopefully you did too. So please tell me what you think, and if you have any questions, please ask me. So that's all for this week. Goodbye.